embrace the messiness of life, find meaning in the ordinary, and have real conversations that leave you feeling empowered and connected. Today, I am so excited to introduce someone truly special, Maggie Bio. She's a keynote speaker, self discovery mentor. She's the founder of Power Within Her, Inc. What's happening? Hold on. Something is happening here. Okay. Okay. Sorry, did you hear that?
No.
Oh, that's right. My mic or something was doing it. Anyway, so let's keep talking. So, host of so you're the host of the Power Shift podcast, right? So Maggie's mission is to lead, motivate, and inspire women to live fully and unapologetically. Her story is one of transformation. She's reclaiming her power after years of living life that wasn't aligned with her truth. So, in this episode, we're going to dive into her journey, her work. I mean, how can you begin to shift your mindset and step into your power no matter where you are in your path in your life? So, let's get into it. Welcome to the Life Unscripted.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I just cannot wait to hear all of the things that you have to ask me and share with your audience. And hopefully, we'll have some transformations alongside of us along the way. So, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And so, let's start at the beginning. I always like to start at the beginning. You've been open about spending over a decade, right, living according to someone else's dreams. And what was your turning point? Like the moment that you knew, okay, this is it. This is the time I have to rewrite my story.
Yeah, the ultimate turning point for me was waking up each and every single day knowing and craving something different. We all tend to have that inner voice that says you deserve better, you want better, you're made for more, and we tend to mute it down when we're stuck in a relationship, we're stuck in a job, we're stuck in places that we just don't really know how to step out of it. And so for me, the turning point was I was tired of my own BS, waking up saying, "Oh, it's okay. It is what it is. This is as good as it gets." And I kept telling myself, "Is that really the truth? Or can you choose differently?" And so that day I woke up enough and said, "I want to choose differently."
Well, tell me a little more about power with him or with him, her, right?
Yes.
What inspired you to create it? I mean, like, how does it support women who are ready to make a change in their life?
Power within her really came from the vision of the power is truly within each and every one of us. Like I almost just mentioned, was we tend to not listen to that power. And when I talk about the power within, it is that inner voice, that intuition, that feeling we get when we sit quiet with ourselves. And so power within her, my Instagram page, was really truly, I started it as kind of like journal entries from my own life, my own experience, and how I did finally choose myself and choose the power within myself to rewrite my story. And so it's all about leading and motivating and inspiring from a place of coming at other women who where I was just about 5 years ago. And I always like to say that too is no matter what my story is and your story is, it's uniquely yours. But the way that we can heal together and grow together makes all of the difference. So, yes, the power is within you, but it's important to understand that each and every one of us has a story, has the traumas, has the bad relationship, the bad job, the bad family vibe. And so it's really important to understand the power is within you, but there's also such a power that comes into having a community. And that's why I wanted to start Power Within Her. Inc. on Instagram was because it was then going to be a community of people who could share their experiences.
That's awesome. And I also love the fact that you also host a podcast, the Power Shift. Now, it is sounds like a well powerful power shift, powerful name and concept. So did you start the show around the same time, the podcast that you started your, or is it together, or how would that go?
No, so I started the Power Within Her Instagram page about a year ago. And it was more of just like, how can I start sharing my story, sharing my voice more? And then, like everything, when you just do stuff, it starts to evolve, it starts to grow. That's when then I started to do some of the one on one mentoring, the coaching, and then I fell in love with speaking more. And so it's just evolved even more to now public speaking to then hosting my own show podcast. And it's been great because that started just in December of this year or last year, right at the end of the year. And so it's only been about 4 months of me working solely into the Power Shift podcast, and really just being able to open up and share more of my story, and then also other people who are there to share their stories of their own power shift.
That is so neat, let me tell you, because your story, in a way, is similar to mine. I'm the same way here. I started it, and I keep saying it because I have a book that talks about courage, and basically I kind of bring the same message, saying, hey, you do have the courage within you to do the things that you want to do. Power, courage, right? And so I had this book in my hand. I'm like, how do I do to get this message across? And I was like, in December, we actually had that vision. It was like a, within 24 hours, like, I need to start a podcast. But again, you never know where it will go, because in my case, I just started like, well, let's do friends, family, and look what it has taken us to a
Mhm.
community, like you say, and finding people that, the message resonates with so many of us, and I loving the fact that so many people are willing to open up their hearts and share their stories, and we can learn from each other for sure. And the other question I wanted to ask you, you recently hosted a summit, right? Reclaim Your Power Summit. Is that, were you the main host, or because I understand that there were other 12 incredible women diving into topics like self confidence, self love, alignment. But what was that experience like? I mean, what did you personally take away from it?
Yeah, so I was the host of it. I had a co-host. Her name is Sammy, and her and I met actually through my podcast. And I thought to myself, I've met so many incredible speakers, authors, mentors, coaches, all sorts of people, and we all have a story and something that we can share. And so I thought, why not create a summit of reclaiming your power? And it's interesting when you talk about something like, let's reclaim your power. And all of us that came in to this summit, we handpicked these women, and each of them had this story and this vision and this message, and they all were very similar but so different. And so for me, it was so great to learn from all different types of people too. And I will say, we all start somewhere. I am I've been a speaker and I've been all these different things in my life for decades, but stepping into, a host of a summit, it's new, and it was so cool to be able to host a platform of newbies, of a few coaches that have maybe never spoken before. And it was great because you could see them unlock that power inside of them. And so for me, it was so rewarding to be able to have this platform and this stage for them to share their voice. And maybe it was for the first time, and then now they're confident, they have the courage, and they could maybe even do something on their own, very soon. Because I think that's the one thing I like to say is, oftentimes we think everything is so far out of reach. I've seen people do these summits, I've seen them, and I'm like, that's not for me. I can't do it. I don't know all the things. And I really just showed up for myself, and it all came together, and it was beautiful. It was magic, and the experience was truly life changing.
Yes, and then it also tell us that I mean, we got to start somewhere, right? And the
Yeah.
first step is basically making that decision to start, and not
Yeah.
perhaps waiting until we have the right this and the right that, because that's kind of like how life goes, you know. For me, it's more like, if I wait until I have I'll never start anything. So I'm more like a, let's do it.
Yeah.
So But let's talk about mindset also in your work. What would you
Mhm.
say that some of the biggest blocks that or beliefs that you see that hold women back?
Actually, this comes at a great time. I was just at a retreat in Tulum, Mexico over the last week, and to meet 12 random strangers, all from a different country, which was all Canadian. I was the only USA, and it was just cool to connect because I feel like no matter what you see, we each have those limiting beliefs. We each have the self-doubt. We each have the procrastination, the perfectionism. And so I think the biggest one that I could even capitalize on after just being in a very, very close quarters with these women is self doubt. And I think that that is the biggest thing that holds us back. And like we just said, we're able to try and we want to do things. And, we may not have it all figured out, but I will tell you, there's a lot of things that I really want to do, but that self doubt, it creeps in because, who am I to say, or who am I to tell my story, or who am I to
Right.
make this change? And so I think self doubt would be my biggest like right in front of my forefront right now, but there's so many that are they're so deep rooted too. And it comes from such an early age, and we don't realize how much we're holding on to the conditions and the patterns and the behaviors and those thoughts and the emotions. And so, yeah, I think self doubt is one of my
Right.
biggest
And
ones.
then something I noticed about your message, listening a little bit of your podcast, I'll be honest, just a little bit because
Yeah,
it's, time and whatnot. But I
absolutely.
think I noticed that you mentioned that it's okay to not have everything all figured out. Like there is beauty in the process, which I believe is very, very true, because, you know, how, my question here is how do you stay grounded and embrace that chaos when life feels uncertain?
Yeah, perspective. Perspective shifts. The beauty is in the chaos. The beauty is in the redirects as long as you have the perspective of this is happening for me to either learn, grow, or change or release. And so I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is that if it feels a little uncertain or it feels a little unclear, that's okay. That's a sign that you're growing, that you're changing, that you're getting uncomfortable. And so I think the perspective shift is so important. Um, you know, I talk about the power shift. If you are in this cycle of life and you keep hitting the same bumps, you keep hitting the same toxic cycles, the things are happening. That is the universe, God, divine, whatever you believe in, is putting those little things into your forefront for you to decide, why is this happening for me? Not, oh, this is happening to me again. This is just, life is just so unfair. It's instead of that, it's the perspective of, what is this trying to teach me? And oftentimes it's just like, you have a job and your boss comes and says, you know what, I'm going to fire you. You've wanted to leave that job for a decade, but because that boss told you, you're like, well, you know. And so it's that boss took that power to say, this is your power shift moment. If you're not going to listen, this is the perspective shift. It's not a blame game and I can't believe they would fire me. It's like, this happened for me because I've been begging to make the
Hmm.
choice on my own. And so power shifts can happen in so many different ways of your life, but that redirect and that chaos, to stay grounded, is just perspective.
Yes, it's being able to see what's actually happening,
Hmm.
not judge it from our from our mind, but have a little bit more of a, I don't know, that inner trust our instincts in one sense. And then the other thing I was thinking though, um, actually today I was thinking, first of all, change is something that unfortunately many of us are very uncomfortable with. We know that. However, that's one of the things that, I mean, it's going to happen no matter what. It's happening every single time, whether we like it or not. We're not the same that we were a minute ago, an hour ago, a day ago, because even our bodies are changing, and we just have to learn to embrace that. And so that is That is also very important. I call it, for me, it's like reinventing. And I was actually kind of smiling on my walking because in life, through my experiences, I feel like I have learned to reinvent myself. And in a way, I'm not afraid because for me, it gets like exciting. I get excited about, okay, well, I had to try something else. But not everybody gets excited about that. Not that I'm saying, oh, I want to be changing all the time or unpredictability. But in other words, just know that it will happen. You just have to learn how to embrace it.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's really important to kind of talk about really quickly is change. And what came to me when you said that, it's like I reference this a lot of times too. If you don't like the thoughts and the behaviors and the actions that are happening in your life, it's like a piece of clothing. We take off and we change our clothes each day, especially too if we're like, oh man, this thing is tight or this
mhm.
doesn't fit me quite right anymore. We change. We're changing and we're adapting to then this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to pick something that makes me feel better. And so it's just like that with your own world,
Right.
your own thoughts is try something else on.
Have you
Uh,
noticed that? I don't know. For me, it is. There is a lot of freedom, or I feel a lot more freedom when I am not longer afraid of change.
mhm,
Because I just
absolutely.
go with it and everything just kind of falls into place, and there's no the tension, you know, it's not longer there. So things just kind of flow
Hmm.
because change is going to happen, like I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, do you have any exciting projects or dreams that you're bringing into life in this year, 2025?
Yeah, so one of the biggest projects I'm working on right now is an exclusive community for women to step into their power. And it's that person I was about 5 years ago, where I had tried certain things. I had read books, I did some meditations. But I still just felt like there was this lack of something. And so I wanted to create a community and a space for women who know I'm made for more, I want more. I've tried things, but I just feel like there's something missing. And in this community that I've been working so hard behind the scenes and trying to get it just like, and I hate the word perfect because nothing is perfect, but just put together enough that makes sense for somebody to say, man, I need this, because it's not an experience just for mindset or an experience for working out, or it is a full body experience. It's you're going to come in, you're going to feel seen and heard and understood. You're going to be pushed, get uncomfortable. We're going to talk about the things that light you up, because a lot of people, they don't even know. You can ask the question like, what do you like to do? And it's if there's nothing in that forefront, you're just like, I don't know, I don't have anything. And it's like, yes, you do. You truly have something that is lighting you up inside. But when was the last time you sat to think about that? And so this community is going to be all about circling in with other women who are just like you, that are saying, you know what, I'm sick and tired of the sick and tired feeling. I want more. I don't really know what it is, but I want to grasp it. I want to be able to up level my life, mind, body, and soul. Full body experience, because I think a lot of times we can tend to say, well, I'm going to work out and I'm going to do mindset and I'm going to do this. And then it starts to get really kind of overpowering. And so with this community, it's just going to be about ease, like you were just talking about, the flow, the excitement, and knowing that there's other women that are doing the same things you're looking to do, and surround yourself by that positive energy. And so that's like my biggest project of this year, is just opening the doors to that community, and holding space for that woman that I was just a few short years ago, and helping her step into her power, rewrite her story, and step into that authentic, unapologetic version of herself. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is the unapologetic part. It's
Yes.
selfish. And it's like, no, it's not selfish, because you have to remind yourself the most important person on this planet is you.
Yes.
And
You know, when you said the word unapologetic, for
mhm,
whatever reason, I think sometimes people tend to equate unapologetic with somehow being like, I don't know, maybe like a little bit obnoxious, like rude. Like you can
yeah,
be unapologetic yourself just by being you,
right.
and in a way that it's not. It doesn't have to be offensive or be taken off. If I don't know if you're because I heard the word and some people are like, oh, you know, it's like a little taboo. At first, it was for me
Right.
when I first came here and the whole cultural thing, the changes. But then I learned to kind of love myself just the
Hmm.
way I am, the way I was, and just be me. And I feel like I'm unapologetically without me saying, well, here I am, you know, I'm going to push
Absolutely.
through kind of thing. It's a very, I don't know, it's when I start feeling comfortable with your own self. So,
100%. And I think exactly like you just said, you nailed it because I think unapologetic people are like, what? So you don't care about anything? And it's like, no,
exactly.
unapologetic, like you just said, you're unapologetically stepping into who you are. If you're laughing and you're giggly and you're silly and you're a jokester, and yet for the last however long you've been wearing a mask that's like, I'm not really sure if that's me, and it's like, no, that's you. So
Yes.
unapologetically owning your quirks, your flaws, your weirdness, that's what we mean by unapologetic. And the
Yes.
right people are going to say, heck yes, I love your weirdness. I love your vibe because that's what I did. I found somebody who matches my vibe. Before, I was in a relationship that was just like constant friction, and I was hiding the parts of me that actually are unapologetic now. The
Yes.
fun, the goofy, the flirtatious, the excited, the happiness. And
Yes.
for so long, I was unapologetically the wrong person.
Yes. You
And
know,
now,
many women like us, because I wasn't, I was exactly what you're saying at one point, many,
mhm,
many years ago. I was trying to fit in. And do talk a lot. I do have a chapter in my book that is called Belonging, Not Fitting.
mm,
And it means having that sense of belonging. And again, being unapologetically you as opposed to just try to fit in, you know, into the molds that every people, you have to be this way, you have to be without, once again, being offensive, being, it doesn't have to be that way. You can just be you and still, and I don't know, the confidence comes with it. I mean, I don't know which one goes first, if the confidence goes in first and then the unapologetic, but they kind of feed off each other.
mhm,
I don't know. I feel like more confident than ever, you know,
yeah,
and it has nothing to do with any magic potion or extra money or nothing. You know, it's just like you say, it's the power within you.
mhm. It's the truth.
Yes. And now, uh, without perhaps going into details or maybe not, can you share a success story that really stayed with you, like when someone actually stepped into their power through your guidance?
Mm. Yeah, I have multiples, but the one that just sticks out to me the most is a girl, Holly. She came to me so beat down, broken, was in a toxic relationship, had no idea really truly what her wants and desires and passions were. And she now texts me almost like daily to maybe weekly for sure, saying, I have myself back, my power, I'm in my power. You've changed my life. I see myself the way that other people see me. I'm confident. I left that terrible relationship. And for her, she's gone through a lot of other things from after leaving that relationship, with even the same person kind of surfacing and making her question and wonder. And she just honestly, every time she messages me, I'm like, see, Holly, this is you in your power. This is you standing in your truth. And you know the answers. And so I think it's just because we tend to overcomplicate everything in our lives when I just say simply back to her, like, look what you're doing. She goes, oh my gosh. And so it's just a constant reminder. And I think that's what's so important to anybody listening to this episode is healing is the journey, it's the process. And you have to fall in love with the process and the journey. Because for her, she's had some massive setbacks and some massive questions of like, why did I do and what am I doing and how, but then she realizes, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. And I've only been working with her for, you know, not even a year. And we don't even really closely work together as much as we did in the very beginning, but just knowing that she feels a different sense of herself because she became more aware. She became more willing to change, and she released the feeling of, I think I should stay in this relationship, but knowing she didn't deserve to have that. So she had to let it go, and she is experiencing a whole new life, and it's so rewarding for her and also for me.
Yes, and so many women out there are going through stuff like that. I mean, I
Oh my gosh, yes.
probably I even went through that, I don't know, many years ago, but
Mhm.
so it seems like you built a movement that actually, yeah, help women reclaim their power. But I do have a question. I don't know. It's who helps? Oh, who or what helps you when you need encouragement, or let's say a reset?
Who helps me personally? I myself have mentors and coaches and guiders, because honestly, we all need it. We all need to be able to share our own experiences. We all need to be able to connect and relate. And so I think one of my biggest mentors, that has been with me through a pretty extensive journey, even just in the last year, because like I said, it's a journey and a process. I've been going through power shifts this last year, and I'm thinking, what is happening? Why are these things happening? And so for me, I always remind myself that it comes from me. And I also am one that kind of tends to want the validation or the external, somebody to say like, you're on the right path. And so I do have somebody that I think when you speak out what you want and how you feel to a coach, a mentor, a guide, whatever it is, and they mirror you back with that positivity and that excitement and that encouragement, that is so important. And that's what you need to find in somebody that you want to work with, is that they see you for what you bring, that unapologetic vibe, because that unapologetic vibe is right here with me as long as it's aligned with you. And so I've had my fair share of not the best decisions with coaches that made me kind of, like you say, mold and shape and conform and put a mask on. And I had that feeling in my body where I was like, this is not, no, this isn't good. And so you have to have somebody that's able to tell you, like, how you feel is mirroring from what you're saying. And it's just such that reassurance knowing that you're on the right path.
Now, for someone out there who perhaps might be looking for mentors or coaches, what do a coach look like? Could it be like a family member, a friend, a counselor, a coach, or tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think honestly it goes down to, I like to go out of your forefronted circle. Friends are great, but friends also tend to keep you small. And I hate to say that, but sometimes when you're talking to a friend, they may think that they want to try to help you, but in a way they might be keeping you kind of questioning because they know too much about the situation, especially if you've told them all the stuff that's happening in your life and this and that. So they'll have this, like, almost like a one sided opinion. Same with family members. One sided opinion. They are wanting the best for you. They don't know. They've heard maybe the bad, the chaos, this and that. And so for a mentor or a coach or someone who is on that outside, for me, you have to find the coach though that wants to see the perspectives, because that's what I like to do. I want to see your side, their side, the outside, the inside, but then also how can we change your thoughts? Because that's the only person you can be in control of. Like, I can't tell you, Rosabelle, to come to me and change your fiance's thoughts or your husband's or whoever's thoughts or that person or this person. So it's like, well, what's happening and why do you feel that way? But let's have the perspective shifts for you to feel better. Because when you're finding a coach, it's not about fixing and helping and healing other people, it's about healing yourself first. And some people you might outgrow or you might have to release from, but that's the power in figuring out what this coach is here to help you to navigate and to make sure that you're looking at all the sides of the story. Because I know we all have one, right? We all have our side. They have
Yes.
their side. There's the truth somewhere in the middle. And then there's the perspective of everybody has their own feelings, thoughts, and emotions. And none of them are good, bad, right, or wrong. It's your perspective that really matters.
And if someone is looking, let's say, either for a coach or perhaps someone who's listening feel like they have lost their spark, or
Mm.
what do you recommend their start?
I think the first step, honestly, is not to reach out for other people. I think the first step is to go inward first and truly sit in your silence. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, and most oftentimes, most people don't even know how to sit in silence. I was labeling meditation as it had to be like this certain position and this certain thing. And really, truly, if it's just the sitting in your own silence and listening to what comes up, your thoughts really do tell you what your thoughts or what your feelings are. And then you can do that. But then if you're ready and you've done this and you're looking for it, I think your first step is to really truly, like I already kind of said this, you got to find somebody who mirrors your energy or is doing something that you want to do. What inspires you? Because the person that you might be following on Instagram, the person that you're looking and saying, I love her life, I want her life, this is how it would like, all those things, that is because it's inside of you. It's mirroring to you saying, this is what you are capable of doing. If you want it, hire that person because you know that they have walked the path that you want to create for yourself.
Very good. And you have a keynote, right? It's ignite your power, correct? And
Yes.
so one of the themes that you highlight it's how being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps it's a foundation of our own story. So how did you were you able how did you discover that for your own self?
Find my authenticity. Ooh, wow. I think it's always been there, but through life, right? You either get it stifled down, or somebody says that you're too much, you're too loud, you're too silly, you're too whatever, and so your authentic self is really truly who you are in a private setting, and I'm talking a private setting with yourself. Do you sing in the shower? Are you this vibrant, magnetic, whatever that is? If that's you, that is your authentic self, and that's what you need to put into the universe. Don't hide or dim your light. Ignite your fire and show the world who you are. Most people will be like, "Whoa, look at her," but they're deep and down inside, they're like, "Wow, I wish I had that confidence. I
Yes.
wish I could be like that." And so when you radiate from the inside and you are that person, that authentic version of yourself, what you act like behind closed doors, alone, and in a situation with your own self is how you need to show up in the world. That is that authenticity. That is that person. That's the one that you got to claim.
Right, which is by the way, it's I'm not gonna say the word front a pound. However, uh, it's that's what we're trying to do. Let's put it that way. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to do to get that real, person in out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially when you were like in different places, I've lived this through myself. I've heard, some people say that you have to have, oh, you're one at work and you must be one at home. I'm like, I don't culturally, to be honest with you. I mean, I grew up. I was just. I'm the same person here, there. I mean, and I love it because then I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. Again, there's freedom. There's no masking. There's no need to. You know, it's freedom.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people do wear masks. You never know who they are. You'll never know. But who knows what goes inside their mind, right? As far as, are they really happy by
Right.
continuously hiding their true self, you know?
Yeah. I just, when you said that, I was like, wait, you have to show up differently in different parts of your life. And how hard is that? I mean, and I did. I am no one to judge because I did for years of, I was the face of my fitness business, and I wore a mask of like, I am confident, I am beautiful, I am strong, and I am authentic. But behind that closed door, I was beat down, broken, and belittled. So the mask came on. And so for me, it's like you don't always have to have this mask of beauty or just fakeness. You could have the mask of confident and sexy and vibrant, and deep down inside, you are like, Holy Mother of Jeez, I am so hurt. I am so broken, and I want people to see that. And I think that's what happened to me where for so long was is nobody knew because I was really good at showing up as that confident, badass girl that got on stage, that taught the classes, that brought the energy, that brought the vibe. And as soon as I walked out that door, I cried myself to work. I cried myself to sleep. But no one knew that because, so yes, I was wearing masks of beauty, of confidence, and strength. And in behind closed doors, it was such a different person. And so it doesn't have to be that you're wearing a mask to, you know, prove something to somebody. It just,
Right.
yeah.
I also think about having the courage to walk away from environments that put you, whether it's in a box or even in prison.
Mm.
I've been through that. Uh, and something interesting happened to me, would I say, almost a year or two ago? Maybe now, maybe a year ago or so. I said, enough, enough. I'm I'm going to walk away from this entirely. This is not where, it's not aligning with my view. With I'm miserable here.
Mm.
And when I made that decision, a beautiful door opened up for me. And it's like I did not know that place existed. I did not know it could be possible. I was ready to literally like walk away from my own profession.
Mm.
And a beautiful opportunity came to me. And I think it was also because I was open. I was ready to let go. I was it's not about giving up because that's not, people think you're quitting. No, that's not it. It's you're actually reclaiming once again your power, the power to know that you are in a place that perhaps is being toxic, whether, like you said, being in a bad relationship or whatever it is, that you're worth your happiness, your peace of mind is much more important. And then, but then in a way, you get rewarded. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's how I felt. So having the courage, and that's why I call my book The Courage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I call it The Courage to Succeed, but again, it depends how we define success. And, to me, success, and I've said it many, many times, it had nothing to do with accolades, money, or anything. To me, it's about being comfortable with who you are, being happy with who you are. And that includes the ups and downs, again, the beauty and the not so beautiful moments in life. When
Mm-hmm.
you learn that, yeah, life is difficult, but it's also beautiful at the same time. So when you learn to balance those, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then I also know you said that it took walking away from everything, to truly step into your power. And like I was saying, that's really a bold move. What was the hardest part about that choice? And like, how did you ultimately were able to transform you?
Um, so I just kind of wanted to say something about what you said too is for me, yes, as soon as I made the choice to walk away, um, life looks so different. I mean, it was instantly. I mean, I live in the
Yes.
Rocky Mountains for heaven's sakes, and I know that I live in a beautiful state with beautiful colors and beautiful mountains, and it took that choice of myself to when I drove to go to my safe place, I was like, "Oh my gosh, the sky is blue. Oh my gosh, look
Mm-hmm.
at those mountains." And so, like you said, it doesn't have to come in a reward of like some sort of huge opportunity. It's just like the magic and the beauty is in your forefront of like you have been so clouded that you weren't able to see the beauty in the small things. And so for me, I think that hardest part is I was so afraid to lose the identity I had with this person. And that was because I owned a fitness studio and a business that had gone nationwide. And it was so cool and it was so exciting. And I loved that part of my life. But the other part was so dark and so awful that the hardest part was is to strip the identity of Maggie Palango to just Maggie, the beauty of that woman, that confidence, that badassery, that vibey person without this. So it was the hardest part to say, like, who am I without that? But I'm actually who I am and still was. I was just so I was so beat down inside that it was truly affecting everything. And so yeah, the hardest part was is to understand that my identity wasn't just Palango Maggie. My identity is Maggie. My authentic self was that beautiful person that I talk about, but I needed to shed the other part of it to then step back into my power. And it still is a daily process, a daily journey, because I still sometimes can slip back into the mentality of, I'm a victim. This really hurt me. This happened to me. For a decade of my life, I allowed cheating, manipulation, brainwashing, pretty much theft. I mean, it's just there's so many things. So to label that, I think, yeah, it was that the hardest part was is to understand that my identity had to be stripped of one thing, but I could still be that person that I know I am.
That is so very true what you just said. It's a daily thing.
Mm.
It's a process. And then you're right. Some days we kind of tend to we go back out there, but we come right back out of it because we know there is a better way to do things. There's a better way. And for those out there listening to us right now, how do you think someone can find the courage to pursue a life that perhaps sets their soul on fire? Like especially if they're feeling like scared, stuck in life, or something is not right with them.
Yeah, you don't find it, you create it. And courage comes from trying. Courage comes from testing it out. Courage doesn't just, you don't just, oh, I have the courage. Or I can read this book and somebody can tell me all the things. Courage is from you. The power is within you on everything. The courage to take the first step is that if you have the courage to move your feet forward, you have to trust in the alignment and you will build the strength along the way. Those are the three other words that I love to use is you have to have the courage to be able to take the steps, but then you have to have that trust in your own self that universe, God, divine is going to help you on that new aligned path or back to your aligned path. And then along the way, you're going to build strength and
Absolutely.
more courage and more trust. Because, like we've talked about through this whole episode, you don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden go, I have the courage. I know it all. I have it figured out. Because I hate to break it to you, and spoiler alert, absolutely no one in this world knows what they're doing. They're just going after it and trying it anyways.
It's a trial and error.
It's a game.
And
It's a life.
the way I call it, to me, it's like doing despite. So in other words, you're going to just keep moving forward despite of whatever it's going on. You're going to keep on moving. I always say, if, talking about fearless, there's no such a thing. I mean, you can still, in my case, especially when I was younger, I will say something like this. No, you might think I'm not afraid of it. It might seem like it. What tells you, what makes you think I'm not afraid? It's just that I am doing it despite of being afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going forward with this because it's part of the process. Because in my case, I discovered the closer you get to whatever it is making you afraid, the smaller it becomes and it kind of dissipates, and then you go through the other side, and then you find out that it's not that bad.
Yeah. And most oftentimes you look back and you're thinking, why did I wait so long? Because we do. We tend to overcomplicate. We tend to. I have a person I'm working with right now, and the more you talk about it, and the more you put the story in your forefront, that's what you're gonna see. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid and I don't know, and if I do this, this person might like me, this person might judge me, this person might criticize, and you start to play this movie in your head around like the outcome, of course you're gonna be afraid. Of course you're gonna sit there and go, oh my gosh, blah 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 blah. And instead, like you said, just almost stepping into it and saying like, I don't really care what anybody else thinks because this is me. I'm choosing me. And I want to step into that. And so it's so important that we have to stop replaying these movies.
I lost you for a second, but we're still here.
Okay. You don't know what the outcome is.
Yes.
But if you try to think about the outcome and you make the story, that's probably what's going to happen in your story.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I was just thinking something kind of went away in my mind for a second, but and you also talk about creating a happier, more fulfilling life, 90% of the time. So, what are some core habits or shifts that will help someone sustain that? At least that 90%.
Yeah. And I love to say 90% because nothing is perfect. 100% is going to say, oh, I'm perfect. So 90% of the time, you're going to be able to say to yourself, I'm happier, I'm more fulfilled, I'm living my passion and my purpose. And the way that you can do that is building yourself a routine of understanding what lights you up. What do you do in your life that brings you, like you said, that brings that passion and that fire? Because what I like, you might not like. I can't tell you, hey, I want you to meditate for 5 hours. I want you to drink 300 milliliters of water. I want you to do, I can't tell you those things. You have to find what truly resonates with yourself. And so that's what I like to say. I'm not your average mentor who's going to say, well, this worked for me and this worked for me. So your core habits have to come from within. And so I have another word that I love to work through is alive. And it's how do you have something in your own daily routine that keeps you on track? Whether that's being affirmations, it's living with intention, it's visualizing, it's exercise. What is it? Because I'm going to tell you, if I tell you to go eat 30 carrots and, a tomato, and you're like, well, I don't like carrots or tomatoes, are you going to stick with it? No.
Right.
So you got to find what makes you tick. You got to find what makes you. I'm not a journaler every day. I don't meditate every day. I work out almost every day. But it's because of those little habits that I have found that I enjoy. So it's about what is it that makes you feel alive? And
Yes.
those are the habits that you need to create for yourself. It's not about what I created for myself, it's about what do you want to create for yourself?
Because in a way, it's not one size fits all.
No,
I
no,
no. Because
no,
what might work for me may not work. I mean, we can have some similarities and
absolutely.
a few things here and there. Uh, but you come to those conclusions, and I think it makes sense. This is why mentors and having someone outside, it's so important because somebody can see what you're not able to see. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you reach having those conversations. That's when you reach like, I didn't think about that. Oh, maybe this, and then you learn how to create a plan, not just for yourself, but also in community. And I
Mm-hmm.
really love what you're doing. Kind of very similar of, in a way, what I'm doing here. Just opening a space so women and even men, can come in and just
Mm-hmm.
share their thoughts and just feel free for a minute.
Yeah.
So, Maggie,
Yeah.
do you have anything that you want to tell anyone in our audience? Like, if there was one thing that you would like for them to take with them, what would that be?
Um, it's the word I will repeat till I'm blue in the face is aware. And it's simply put in another way that I talk about, because it's one thing that you can literally take any life experience, anything in your entire life, and walk through this simple word and understand where you're going. And so I will literally say it in less than 15 seconds. You have to acknowledge what is happening in your life, but then you have to have the willingness to grow and change into something else, finding true alignment in what lights your soul on fire, then release what no longer serves you to experience that happier, more fulfilling life 90% of the time. So it all stems from aware, and that was literally AWARE. 5 words basically that are life changing, because now that you have those in every single situation of your life, you can think, aware. What is this? What is it teaching me? What do I need to do? How do I realign, release, and experience? And it's literally that simple in day to minute to hour experiences.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your heart with us today. You truly embody what it means to live like unscripted. And to our listeners, if Maggie's words resonated with you, I truly encourage you to check out her podcast, The Power Shift. And I believe every week you share tools, stories, and insights to help you shift from, being stuck to strong and perhaps find that magic, of not having it all figured out, right? And where can they learn more about you? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest, most kind of space that I do connect with most of my people is through obviously the Power Shift podcast, but also to um, powerwithinher.inc is my Instagram page. And then also my website is powerwithinherinc.com. So anywhere you can find it, Power Within Her Inc. And then .com or anywhere on Instagram. And those are my major platforms to be able to connect and communicate. I love voice clipping people. So if you have a little bit of a wisdom out of this episode and you have some follow-up questions, please reach out. I would love to talk and communicate and connect with some of your amazing listeners. So again, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much. And let's make some shifts happen, And so until next time, I always say stay real, stay curious, and stay unscripted. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.